A group of protesters gathered outside Barclays Center waving flags and signs while chanting "No vaccine mandate, stand with Kyrie" before the Brooklyn Nets lost their home opener to Charlotte Hornets 111-95 on Sunday. Around 100 people stood in the plaza outside the arena and on the street blocking traffic on Flatbush Avenue, many showing support for Nets point guard Kyrie Irving's decision not to get at least one vaccination shot to comply with New York City's mandate in order to play home games. Stephen A., let me ask you this. Do you think these protests have actually made Kyrie a sympathetic figure here?
No, I don't believe that. Let me say this. There were also protests going on in New York City yesterday where the Brooklyn Bridge was being blocked because to meet the requirements of that mandate handed down by the local government here in New York, if people like municipal workers, police officers, people like that, hospital workers, stuff like that, if they don't abide by the mandate, they'll lose their jobs. And so people, if they don't get themselves vaccinated, what have you, so people have really taken that position to heart. And and to be quite honest with you, even though I'm fully vaccinated, you are as well. You know, there are people that bring concerns, and it's not just black folks, it's white folks, it's Hispanic folks. There are millions upon millions of people in this country that really have a big time problem with the government saying get vaccinated or else, because you're mandating that they trust an entity they don't believe warrants their trust and what have you. So we understand that to some degree, the trepidation, the skepticism about things and what have you. But to me, that doesn't transfer to Kyrie because they're worried about losing their jobs and their livelihood. Kyrie is on social media telling you money ain't no issue. Don't worry about that with me. You know, he's pocketed over $200 million in his career. He's got $35 million on the table. He can take half the season off and still end up with about 17 or 18 million this year. He's good. And so at the end of the day, they weren't making the argument to make him a sympathetic figure. They were using Kyrie's name to bring attention to their cause and what they're really fighting over, because obviously their lives are going to be profoundly affected in ways that Kyrie's is not. When it comes to basketball, here's the bottom line. We look at the Brooklyn Nets. We look at them thus far. We look at the way that James Harden is struggling. And I'm not to say that's going to stay the case because I believe in James Harden, but clearly they need Kyrie Irving. And when you anticipate what LA is going to do, when you anticipate what the Golden State Warriors are going to do, when you see the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat on the come up, Milwaukee Bucks the champion, Miami on the come up, it is clear that the Brooklyn Nets need Kyrie Irving. And if Kyrie elects not to come back, he may very well cost them the championship. So in that regard, I think the combination of everything that I just highlighted doesn't equate to him being a sympathetic figure in this.
You know, I'll just leave it on the basketball court for the most part.
Yeah.
They certainly would use him. I mean, they need him because he's an important figure and a part of what they do. Can James Harden and KD move the needle enough to get past the teams that you talk about? I think so, because it's still early in the stages.
Right.
We 3 games in.
Right.
We're having this conversation about what the Nets are 3 games in. We all know if Kyrie was on the floor with them, they're a stronger basketball team, no question about it.
Right.
Now, whether or not they can go down all the way and get to the championship and win it all, we got to wait to see that. But they're certainly a better basketball team with Kyrie.
Right.
Because when you have a guy like James Harden who's struggling, now you got another guy you could go to. If KD starts to struggle, now you got James Harden and Kyrie to go to.
Right.
You got 2 of the 3. But when you only got 1 of the 3 that's performing well, you're not going to win.
Are they beating Milwaukee without Kyrie?
Listen,
that's the question for me.
Jalen doesn't believe so, and right now Jalen's looking very prophetic because Milwaukee, with the exception of their blowout loss to Miami, has looked very, very strong. Miami's on the come up. We can't ignore them, and I get all of that. But I want to transition, not for debate purposes, but I'm going to transition, and not just to Keyshawn, to you too as well, Molly, because I'm really interested in hearing y'all perspective on this. I want to know what y'all feel as it pertains to what, if anything at all, you believe Kyrie might owe the Brooklyn Nets. And by that, I mean this. He is the reason everybody's in Brooklyn, okay? And when you recognize what they look like without him, if that were to continue, then you have a situation where you're looking at the Brooklyn Nets and you're saying there's a chip on the line. When KD, Harden, and various other people, from what we hear, there's a whole bunch of NBA players, maybe not them specifically, but you hear Samaj, there's a whole bunch of NBA players that were very, very reluctant to take the vaccine. They just understood that the NBA said, you don't take it, you don't get to be a part-time player. You take it, you in, you don't take it, you out.
Yeah.
So my question to y'all would be this. What, if anything, do you all believe he might owe the cats that he got to come to Brooklyn with him?
I don't, in this situation, I don't think he owes them anything.
Okay.
Because he ain't being paid, right? He's already been paid for the play in the past. That money's already done.
Is your question
he earned that
fiscally?
money.
Do you mean fiscally?
No,
He just mean
I'm talking about
getting people to come.
Yeah.
He basically, essentially, he got KD to come play for Brooklyn.
Yeah. No,
and
I
because
follow
of that, Griffin came. Because of that, the trade happened with James Harden.
Because of that, Steve Nash was hired as coach.
Was hired. All of those sort of things.
Of course.
So he became a key piece of what they're trying to put together. Right. And so for me, I don't think he owes them anything, because if he decides that that's not what he wants to do with his body, that's his own right. If they believe, okay, I'm putting it in my body because I believe something different, like me and you and Molly, I'm okay with that. I just don't want to. I don't want to put that type of pressure on him.
Here's where
I
don't totally rock with you, Keyshawn, right? Okay, so say you have the chance to have a Super Bowl on the line, right? And you're going down to Tampa, right? And you're coming to Tampa, whatever, and that kind of thing. And then somebody decides to hold out because of the vaccine, and they're the real impetus for you heading down there, and you're the favorites and all of that. Are you really just going to be like, oh, I'm cool? I don't know if you'll continue to. You might forgive them, right? But I don't know. Are you going to deal with them the same way? Are you going to have the same type of relationship once they've broken
I may not have the same.
trust?
I may not. See, that wasn't the question, though. I may not have the same type of relationship.
That's where my mind goes.
I may not have the same type of relationship, but I certainly understand his beliefs. If that's what he. But I can't challenge somebody's beliefs, Stephen A. If that's what you believe, then I can't do it.
That's where I would be. I respect it. I get it. I respect how your religion,
listen,
all of that. But I don't know
Kyrie,
if I would deal with you on the same level.
Kyrie's godfather is Rod Strickland. Rod Strickland and I go back a long ways. I love that brother. I love him to death. And obviously, he and I don't agree on this, and I'll leave it at that. But I got mad love for my brother, Rod Strickland, okay? And there are a lot of brothers out there that have called me on Kyrie's behalf. Yes. You know, because of how strongly I came at
defending him.
You know what I'm saying? In defense of him. And I respect where they're coming from.
Yeah.
I totally understand. So I get where you're coming from. Here's where my belief is, and I joked about this on NBA Countdown when I talked about he walking around like he want to part the Red Sea, because Kyrie has walked into the arenas with this cane on, looking like Moses or what have you, acting like, you know, he's a prophet or something, okay? And then why do I bring that up? And I'm half joking about it, but I'm not.
I understand.
Why do I bring that up? Because Kyrie goes on social media. Yes. And Kyrie says, quote, I'm not anti-vaccine. I didn't take it, but I'm not anti-vaccine.
Well, then take it then, man.
Stay with me, because I want to get to a point here. He says, I'm not anti-vaccine. What I'm about, he said, I made a private decision for the moment. And then he highlighted how he's making this decision on behalf of others because he doesn't like how their rights have been infringed upon. So in other words, if you're not definitively anti-vaccine, then you're taking this principled position to speak for what you term to be the voiceless. And I'm saying that is at the expense of your brothers who need you. Now, if you are completely and totally against the vaccine, and that's that, and damn it, you ain't taking it, and that's the willing, and you willing to lose the money, I'm with you.
But do you feel like he doubled down too much now? So maybe even if he wants to play, he wouldn't get the vaccine?
He could always come back. What I'm saying is, if he's like Keyshawn said, I'm not putting this into my body. This is the reason I've taken this stance. Yeah. Cool. That's not what he's saying. Yeah. He's saying he's doing it on behalf of the voiceless. And first of all, they ain't voiceless. There's millions of people who are against the vaccine. They're not voiceless. They're not voiceless.
But you also could voice your opinion.
Right.
When you can do both things.
You can do both.
You can do both things. You can help your team win a championship if that's what Stephen A. is saying is the case, that you're not against the vaccine. So take the shot and still do
And I'm saying based on what he said, it ain't about him being against the vaccine. So if it's not about you being against the vaccine, well, KD and them are out there, they need you.
Yeah.
What you doing?
Yeah.
Now, if you against it, KD and them ain't going to force you to put nothing in your body. They understand. And you willing to lose $35 million, all right, fine, that's your business. They may not like it, but we all respect it. But he's saying no. That's not it.
No, there's
it's
a little
because
bit of
I want to
hypocrisy.
give a voice to the voices.
You can still
and
give
you're
a voice,
You
though.
can still give a voice, but you're willing to sacrifice being there for your brothers. And that's what I'm looking at. They came to Brooklyn to join Kyrie Irving.
Now this, I know we got to move.
Yeah.
But now it's a different conversation.
Right.
It's a different conversation now that you bring that up.
Right.
Because you can do both. You can
Right.
help them conquer the goal of winning a championship because I'm vaccinated
That's right.
and I'm still a voice for people that
That's
feel
right.
a certain way.
Absolutely.
I got family members that feel that they don't want it.
That's right.
And I'm okay with that. Just understand the situation.
And swear there's research out there to counter, some of the pro-vaccine folks out there.
investigators.
And I'm like, okay, go ahead.
We don't need to get, but I'm not going to challenge his religious or health beliefs.
No, I'm
but
not
at the end of the
doing
day, if I'm KD and I'm disappointed you didn't keep your commitment. Sorry. And I might not deal with you on the same level. Still ahead, whether you blame Jimmy G or the defense or other, the 49ers are in trouble. Keyshawn with a scorching hot take. You got a good take on San Francisco. Better not disappoint us. That's coming up. Mina will be back.